So feeling where you touch the earth and using your body's experience to bring you into this moment. So anchoring in your physical, anchoring in the moment. Letting your breath keep you right here, right now. We'll be working today on cultivating that witness stance. So coming into that innermost, unchanging part of ourselves that is able to witness our lives without getting emotionally encumbered and entangled. So as a human, we tend to get all caught up in the stories, right, and in the emotions, and those can trip us up. Learning to cultivate this witness stance helps us to be with all of our human experience without being encumbered by it. Gives us perspective. Might take just a moment to imagine sitting in your heart center, looking out. I picture this old wise owl sometimes just sitting there. Just this wise old part of yourself. It's able to see a bigger picture than sometimes our egoic mind permits us. Right, bowing your head to the heart. So I don't know if you saw my email this Sunday, but I sent out a picture of the lake and the mountains, which normally you don't see much of because there was snow on it, on the mountains. The pink morning sunrise reflected the snow. It was, I mean, the picture wasn't, of course, anything like how gorgeous it was. And I'm not a snow person, and it just reminded me, you know, my intention usually is to look for those things that I can glean, the joy and the whatever. It reminded me that the whole experience includes slushy, gray, salty snow too, you know, and that all of it has its own potential for gifts, and that it would be denying the human experience if we didn't also acknowledge the dark. And to me, that's what this season is about. The days are getting shorter, it's darker, you know, Hanukkah happens to be here, festivals of light, Jesus represented, you know, a light, a new light. So all these religious and spiritual traditions at this time of year seek to bring light. But that means you then have to acknowledge the dark. And there are gifts to that. So if you are willing to think, I'm irritated, then you can also acknowledge that you're sometimes irritating. Oops. Or, you know, when you look at the news and there's somebody acting horrifically, acknowledging that you have the capacity to be horrific builds our ability to be compassionate and acknowledges a fuller truth about our world and our existence. And that helps us then to have compassion. And also, Marcia and I were talking with Sally last week. We were talking about, you know, something that was happening in the world that's pretty upsetting. But that upset and allowing ourselves to acknowledge that upset creates the capacity and possibility of trying to do something about it. Right? So we have to let in the whole panoply of our experience, and it builds us and shapes us. And if we only see the light, which, you know, I would prefer to do, we're forgetting, you know, like I could just turn off my news. I could never look at, I could, you know, sit in my glass house and say that I'm just doing everything right, but that fails to acknowledge a whole lot, you know, and it closes my eyes and my heart and the possibility for growth, for being an instrument of change, etc. So, part of what allows us to be with the whole thing is to come into this space as the witness. I am the witness, and I'm able to take in the fuller truth and trust that I can handle it and that I can use it for good and for growth. So that's what we'll be working on today, is really being present to witness our practice. It's a muscle we get to develop here on the yoga mat. So that's our focus today. So the first thing I'm going to do is just invite you to roar. So yesterday I was working through something and I just, you know, I'm always polite and controlled and, you know, whatever. And I just thought, and I went, oh, good. So I'm going to invite you. Yours can be a polite little, but if you want to roar, this is the space, okay? So lion's breath, as a reminder, we start in the middle in our center, but then we jut the chin forward. So when I lived in California and we were sometimes encountering mountain lions, they told you to get big. That's kind of what we're doing. We're like, I'm getting big in the world. And I'm saying back off for just a minute. So you jut your chin forward, you open your mouth, you stick out your tongue and go, and then look up to your forehead, this connection with your own inner wisdom. So for just a moment, you say, and you create all kinds of tension, and then you come back to your center and you say, oh, I expressed something I need to express, and now I can just sit here in the quiet for a minute. Okay, so we're going to do that about 3 times. Don't worry, we're not looking at you, we're looking at our foreheads. Okay, you ready? Inhaling. And you can sit in the silence for a while. You can go right into your next line. You do it in your way. Once you feel like you got it out, just sit for a moment. We've created tension. We've released it. Breathing in, filling up the empty space that you created when you let go of maybe what you didn't need. And now just dwell within the possibility that you have space for everything you do need. And negative emotions, I always feel like, are like toilet paper on your shoe that you just drag around, and who knows what else that toilet paper is picking up as you walk around. You want to acknowledge that toilet paper and get rid of it. Yeah, because our emotions are of the dense world. They're not of the higher spiritual plane. They're of that dense physical world. And you got to work through that sometimes, right? So if you don't, it accumulates. things build on it, and then it gets hard and calcified, and it weighs you down. So here we are. Appreciating our whole human experience, enjoying at home and here together that all of us are just sharing and extending compassion to ourselves and others as we go through this process. Knowing that behind your mask of wellness, there are hurts, right? Knowing that the people we encounter, and some of them behaving in ways that aren't so admirable, are probably holding their own hurts behind their mask of whether they're holding anger, aggression, or I'm okay. All of it in all of us with a broader perspective that can include compassion. Breathing fully and gently into that possibility. Once more to the heart, we'll bow, honoring that witness within each of us. Did it feel good to make a little noise? So I saw a video, and you know, social media has its ups and downs, but there was a video of this young kid, and he was real cool, and he was coming down an escalator, and he was with his posse, his friends, and they were all cool, and somebody handed him a bouquet of flowers. So he was coming down and someone going up an escalator, someone handed him a bouquet of flowers and a note. And the guy's all perplexed. He comes down and the guys all are at the bottom of the escalator, and he opens the note and it says, I just want you to know that I see you, even the part that might be hurting inside of you. And he just crumpled and started crying. And his cool friends all gathered around him. And I just thought, okay, if that's not the emblem of what I'm trying to get to this holiday season, in spite of the frenzy, in spite, you know, just to the truth of our existence here. All right, so with that said, we're gonna get up on our feet right up today. All right, so we're going to gently just begin to open up our heart area. So you can stand in Tadasana or a little wider stance, whatever feels good to you and balanced. You could soften your knees a little if you like. And so we're going to just bring one hand to the opposite shoulder, kind of the chest, this pectoral muscle area, and extend the other arm out. There we go. And then we'll go the other way. That feels kind of good. So you can do this as fast or as slowly as you like, exploring the range of motion. And I'm going to ask you to go into your witness and just notice, don't just do it, notice what you feel as you're moving through this. Are there places that are easily open? Are there creaky places? So this is a really gentle, easy movement, and so it's a nice, easy place to begin practicing our witness stance. Now, if there's a part in this range of motion where you need to hold it a little while, and maybe play with it, so a lot of us have our hand back, so maybe it's to reach even more through the hand, the fingertips. Oh, maybe spreading the fingers. Maybe exploring, bringing the arm up or down, or forward or back. So, yeah, exploring. Okay, and then maybe exploring for balance sake, the other side of your body where you held for a while. One way you could play is to take the hand forward and back, for instance. We talked about lifting up or down, maybe shrugging the shoulder, or going a little deeper and then coming up. So just playing with your own experience. And then maybe inviting a little bit of gentle movement again, because after that static hold, the body likes to kind of move. And then coming back to center. And I needed to move my shoulders, but what do you need to move, right? Good, and just taking a moment to feel what you created with those movements, what sensations you created. And then we'll inhale and take the arms out, 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 and up, and look up to the sky. And this is a chance to get your neck in this movement. And then let the hands come down and the head look down. So we're exploring a slightly different range of movement, and we're adding some movement with our head. So again, tuning in to your experience here. Excellent. Now, the next time you bring your arms up, would you imagine gathering up what you need and then bringing it down into your heart? Pausing here a moment. Next in breath, we'll again gather up all the information, all the wisdom, bringing it down into our witness. And one more time, arms out and up, gathering. And you can stay with your hands at your heart, or you can come into traditional Tadasana, whatever suits you better. I'll take just a moment here. And just to challenge yourself a little bit further, if you haven't already, try closing your eyes. Sometimes that challenges our balance a little bit, but let's just see what happens when you close your eyes. Chances are, now this is subtle, when you closed your eyes, your body came out of alignment in whatever habitual way your body likes to do that. So for instance, pay attention to where your hips are. Did your hips slide forward or back? Are they still perched over your heels? Where's your head? Is the head perched over the heart? Good. When you're ready, opening the eyes. Excellent. I'd like to do Gomukhasana pose. And actually, we'll just do a variation of it. I'm going to ask you to bring one arm up and then take it back behind you. And your back behind you might be here, here, wherever. I mean, mine used to reach down here, but not anymore. So we just are where we are. And then the other hand, we're going to use to lengthen the tricep up and then just put a little gentle weight on the elbow. Now, here again, pop, hips, right? What are your habitual things? So let's find that Tadasana again. And then shrug the shoulder of the bent arm side up and down a couple times. And you take 2 full breaths here, because chances are we kind of held our breath a little bit. And then release down. And just feel the 2 sides. A lot of warmth flushing into this. Yeah. Okay, so let's try the other side. And then you can come from below and lengthen up, and then let your hand just gently press down on the elbow. And again, we're using our core, we're drawing in our ribs. Excellent, breathing. And releasing. Now, I don't know about you, but I want a shoulder shrink right now. Okay, shake up the arms a little bit. Ooh, now I'm warm. Having the arms above the head brings the warmth up fast. If you're cold at home, you know, you can just bring your arms up and that'll. We are going to that, Kim, what you're doing right now. Yeah, your body is calling it. She's calling the shots there. Okay, so now let's just think about this. Look down to your feet for a moment, if you would, please. And lift up your toes and spread them out wide. And then just gently set the toes down. And then roll onto the balls of the feet a little more than on the heels. Do you feel any muscles engaging as you do this? Yeah. Shins, quads, waking up. The arches of my feet are working. Anyone? Okay, now roll back into the heel just a little bit more. Oh, and my hips wanted to shift forward because, yeah, and that's okay. We're just playing with imbalance so that we can find balance. So we'll come forward and back until you feel you're over the middle of your feet. Your hips are over the middle of your heels. Okay, and now I'm looking around and I'm seeing a little bit of this. So let's think about the pubic bone lifting, tailbone just slightly descends, the sitting bones draw together. And then let's draw the pubic bone up to the navel up to the ribs, and now ribs up to the sternum. Ah, that took the curve out of the upper back, right? Good. Okay, and now just slightly roll towards the ball of the feet a little. And pick one heel up. And now use the other foot to lift up and lower. So here's what we're doing. I just wanted to not have you have the image of it first. I wanted you to just experience it first. I'm basically going up and down on my feet, but one tends to be stronger than the other. And so this forces you to use each of them. So the first time, this is just helping me balance as I use this leg and this foot to lift me up and down. And this is just for balance. And we have these chairs, we have walls. So if balance is really challenging you today, you could use your hand on a wall. So this is harder than it looks, isn't it? Yes. And do you feel? Like two is definitely easier. So much easier. All right, well, why don't we explore the other side and just see? Is this side easier? Harder? Oh, not me. This is my weaker side. Isn't it funny? This looks like it should be so easy. Now, just for kicks and giggles, let's use both of them and see how much easier this suddenly is. Now, whichever side for you was a little less solid, can you imagine as you use both, trying to bring more weight onto that foot? Yes, we all, don't worry, we're all doing a little bobbling today. Isn't that interesting? Can you recruit both feet equally? Oh. Okay, so now just taking the feet apart, we'll bend the knees. No, I need more of a stretch than that. We're gonna do more stretch. Okay, so we're gonna go, use your chair for just a moment and take one foot back, like you are, and press the heel all the way to the floor. So it's like a runner's lunge, but we're staying up a little high. Feels this in their calf now. Yes, okay. So let's be here for a little while and give that calf a chance to open. Now we're going to change the stretch just a little bit by ever so slightly bending that extended leg. You feel how it went down into the Achilles? Mm-hmm. That's in your ankle versus the calf. And come up onto your toe. And oh yes, now we're stretching out the toes a little bit, right? Yes. And then low, press the heel all the way down again. Okay, this is a subtle thing. Imagine internally rotating the thigh just a little bit and reaching through the outer edge of your heel. Did that change the stretch to your calf a little more? Yeah. Ah, so really subtle. Opening up all the different areas here. Excellent, step the feet together. All right, other foot, back she goes. And then the heel comes all the way down. Now, if I don't bend my front leg, I have less stretch in my back foot. As I bend that front leg, I get a little more stretch. So it's a way for you to control how much or how little stretch you get without changing your foot position. Ready for the micro bend of that back knee. Ooh. All right, let's come up on the balls of the feet and really give a stretch to the toes. And then let the heel come all the way down again. And here again, it's that slight internal rotation of the thigh bone and then a reaching through the outer heel of your back foot. And that just isolates a little bit more. You feel it? Okay. Ooh, nice. Thank you. Your calves are thanking you right now. Your feet are thanking you. So now we're ready to play with a little balance. And in one of the measures of your predictors of long-term health, your ability to balance on one leg is one of them. Oh, no. So why don't we develop that a little bit? So we're just going to take your weight onto one foot or the other, and you can just come to the ball of the foot. You could come to the tops of your toes, because this is developing the ability. You could just let that foot come off the floor a little bit. Who wobbled? Yeah, we all wobbled. Okay, now the other side, because chances are you'll be wobblier because you probably went to your stronger side first, right? All right, so that's okay. Be kind, it's all right.
I'm sure to add, anyway. I find that when I'm doing that, the leg locks, when I'm standing.
Ooh, okay.
And I know that when I'm doing that, that's what my body is trying to say, okay, this is how you're gonna be able to hold this. But what I feel is as though it's actually doing the opposite
Yes.
of my body.
So did everybody hear that at home? Mike's response is to lock, because he thinks if he braces, it'll hold him in place, but it actually causes the opposite. So that suppleness of an unlocked knee is more resilient.
And it's also makes me more aware of have to have my roots planted.
Ah, good.
Trying
Artificially prop yourself up. Okay, so let's think about sending our roots down and bringing our weight over the whole of the foot that we're about to switch to. That's part of why I went forward and back before. So you feel the whole perimeter of the foot on the floor. And then you can just begin to explore loading this foot a little more by taking the other heel up, or maybe up onto the toes. And there's no one right way to work on your balance. If this is a place, sort of like when we lift it up, I could ask you to lift up without any balance, right? Oh, but this just gives you a little balance. Same thing here. I could do all my work here to start creating a foundation of balance, ability of balance with my toe on the floor. And then maybe I explore lifting the toe off the floor. Finding one thing to fix your gaze on, hopefully not a friend who's moving. Good job. Okay. Sit for just a moment while you're on your chair. I just wanna. I'm gonna do it this way, just so it's not away from you. Okay. So. You can turn towards me. You don't have to be on your mat. No, not for this. There we go. Sorry, I know it's a little awkward. So what I'm gonna do is just very gently, I'm not forcing anything. I'm just taking the top of my foot on the floor. And then I'm working it back. So that there's a little bit more. So here's what it looks like. I'm doing this. And then as I take it back, there's just a little bit more pull on the top of the ankle and the foot. Do you feel that? Okay, so we're just counter stretching our foot. And now the toes are on the floor. Drag the foot forward and let the toes stay tucked under. How's that feel?
Not good.
So some of it, I saw one person go, "Eh," and the other one's like, not good. So we are all different. So I'm gonna just keep coming forward and I might put a little more weight on it if there was an N. I didn't feel it. And now roll so that the toes are on the floor again, the bottoms of. And you can again bring it forward or drag it back for more intensity. So this is not something we think to do, but this is a good TV activity. It helps keep the ankles and the feet supple and moving. Especially in the winter, we put our feet in shoes nonstop, right? And then it's anything, like imagine binding a foot, how the muscles all atrophy. And that's what you're doing when you're sticking a foot in a shoe all the time versus barefoot. You're using your foot muscles differently. Okay, other side. So we just start here and we can just keep reaching it back. Letting there be a little gentle gravity. So we don't want to push it right away because right away, I don't know, I feel the arch of this foot start to talk to me. It starts cramping up. Yeah, me too. And so I'm gonna come out of it a little bit. All right, so pick up the top of the foot and press the toes down into the floor behind you. That feels good. Good stretch for that place that was cramping, Anji. All right, and then let's take the foot forward a little bit and curl the toes under. So now you're on the tops of the toes again. And we'll just end with the toe pads on the floor and just explore where the right place is for your foot. And if I keep my heel back, there's obviously less pressure on my toes. If I lift the heel away from the floor, there's more. Do you feel that? There you go. All right, and just rest for a moment. Good. Okay, so now our feet and our ankles are warmed up. They're going to do some high lunges for us. That's that crescent lunge. And it looks like this. Feel free to keep your chair nearby if that helps with the balance. You're welcome to do that. But here's what my high lunge looks like. I'm going to step one foot back and remember that that's part of why we were opening up our toes like this. So here's my high lunge, but notice how the hips want to come forward. So I'm gonna find these frontal hip bones here and try to lift them up off the floor. And it may mean I need to bend that back leg a little bit. That's okay. And then we'll internally rotate the legs and we'll use our bandhas. Remember, we drew the sitting bones together. Pubic bone up, tailbone down, and then lift and lift and lift. So did you see that little rounding of my upper back? So it's here, lifts that. All right, so we're gonna do this in 3 ways though. First, we're gonna interlace our fingers. This is gonna be a challenging balance pose. And round forward. And reach the hands forward and round the upper back back. And then we're going to take the hands behind us. Oh, did you hear my shoulder? And then open up the chest and we'll be here. And then finally, you'll be wherever you want to be for your final high lunge. Okay? So what leg have we brought back, folks? What legs forward? We're all different. Okay, doesn't matter. We're doing each side. Okay, so let's bring 1 foot forward. 1 foot back. Let's even out our pelvis. Engage the lower bandhas. So pelvic floor lifts up, the pubic bone to navel, navel to ribs, ribs to sternum. And who feels their hip flexor? Yes. All right, so then let's interlace the hands and reach the hands away. And we'll take the upper back away from the hands. The head will come forward a little bit. There's a balance challenge, right? Can you breathe through this? Excellent, and release, let the hands come towards your heart, and then slide the hands behind you, and if you can reach your hands, great. If you can't, just reach back and take your palms towards one another. But I'm gonna ask you to really, especially now, lift from your pubic bone to the navel, navel to the ribs, ribs to the sternum. And notice your ribs wanting to pop forward. Don't let them, bring them back into the body. And then sweep the arms wherever they want to be. And we'll bring the hands to the hips, push off the back foot and step together. Whose toes are saying it's a good thing you warmed me up? Okay, so let's do the other side now. You ready? There we go. So if you can remember which thumb was on top when you interlaced your fingers, then change into the other one. And then we'll reach the hands away, rounding the upper back, letting the belly draw into the body. And then letting the hands come behind you, really using your lower bandhas, lifting the spine straight and long, opening the chest. And then coming into your expression of your high lunge, wherever that wants to be today. And stopping. Oh, let's take a little walk around because your hip flexors were working pretty hard, right? Okay. Ooh. Yeah, what is that? Is that what the football players do? They go down the field like this? Probably good. It does, and it really strengthens the hip flexors and you have to use your core, so. Whee! Point to knee. Uh-huh. They're onto something. Maybe we should let the football players come and teach us their stuff. All right, beautiful. So now we've got our chair up for a reason. We are going to use it. So if you would set it on the short end of your mat, maybe out towards the middle of the room. And then, and them on for you, just so you can see me better. Just put it here so that you can feel something. Yeah, you can just stand on your mat. Okay. All right, so this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna do a variation of a parigrasana, which is the gate pose. And so I'm gonna bring my foot to the seat of the chair. And what I want to do is, do you see how right now my hip is lifted? I want to even out my pelvis. So we often talk about pelvis tilting forward back. It can also be like a ship's wheel and tilt side to side, right? So we're going to try to even this out as best we can. For some of us, and particularly if you're petite, this might be too high.
Yes.
So-
Yes.
We'll try to be polite if we can.
Yeah.
So if this is too high and you're just like straining your back or whatever, awesome thing that works is a couple of blocks. And I am still working to even my pelvis. I'm still gonna feel, you're feeling okay? Yeah, you don't look. No. All right, but just showing options. All right, so here we are. And does anyone already feel some good stretching here? Okay, so, so yes, and then this leg will come up on the chair. There, I just wanted you to be able to see me.
Yeah.
There we go. Okay, good. Now, subtleties. Let's get a little deeper into the subtleties. So this hip crease, let's give the little hip crease a ride. Lift it up a little bit, deepen it down. Lift it up. So a lot of us lift here, and I'm going to ask you to try to isolate the hip crease. Oh, yeah. Okay, and so we'll find neutral now. We don't want to, if you're really open, don't flop into the opposite hip. So I've got my hip over the heel. Now let's really use our bandha again. So let's find that root lock. Let's imagine the sitting bones drawing together and the pubic bone lifting up. You feel sensation? Just a little bit additional work in the back. Okay, and now from the navel up to the ribs and the ribs up to the heart. Good, and let's extend the opposite arm away and use the hand that's near your knee to just gently draw the knee back. Oh, so you're giving your hip an opportunity to open as well as your inner groin here. And if you want, you could lift that arm up to the sky and feel the length through the whole side body. And you could stay right here, or you could reach up and over a little bit. How's that feel? Are we able to breathe?
Yeah.
Could you stick out your tongue? Good. And then come on out. Ooh, there's some work. So here we go again. Other side. So you can just flip the chair to that side and you'll still be able to see me. All right, you ready to see what happens on the other side? So let's take care. There you go, Mike, so that you can do the other side of your body. Yes. There we go. I know, too complicated. All right, so hip is over the heel. And now I'm looking down at my feet and I have the benefit of seeing myself on video. Look at what I did with my foot. This is my tight hip, so it's turning my foot out. I'm going to try to turn my foot forward. Okay. And I am tighter. Everything on this side's tighter. So I'm just going to really work on my bandhas and lifting. And I'm going to explore the range of motion just a little bit. Is there a millimeter to be had? Less movement on this side for me. Yeah, is that funny? Okay, and then find your neutral and your bandhas are in place. And why don't we take one arm to the inside of the bent leg and the other arm and extend it out? And just be here. See if you can feel stable. This is balance work too, right? Mhm. What if we brought the arm straight up? And you can stay right here. You could play with sweeping over a little bit. And come up and out. Good job. Ooh. All right, how about half down dog? We've got our chair here, let's use it. So you can use the back of your chair and bend your knees and take your hip crease back, or you can use the seat of the chair, you can, how low you'd like to get. Just extend. And let's first focus on lengthening the back. So here again, we want to use our bandhas, right? So that we take that rounding out of the upper back and we lengthen the top of the spine towards the chair, the crown of the head reaching to the chair. And once you feel solid there, then you can play with bending and unbending the legs a little bit to explore what's happening in your hamstrings and the backs of the thighs and how tight they might be. Right, so just, enjoying this lengthening. And this takes a little load off the shoulders. So this is a really nice place to practice your downward dog. If when you do this on the floor, it sort of is too much on your trapezius and your neck and shoulders. So Jean, just lift your head up there. You can look down at the floor. So this is all in. I think you could take the legs back just a little. How's that? Yeah. And you're nice and long through your back. Yes. Oh, those hamstrings are working, aren't they? So let's use the front thigh muscles, the quadriceps. Imagine lifting your kneecaps up to your pelvis so that you also recruit your front thigh muscles to support the opening of the back thigh muscles. Did you feel how that got just a little bit, felt a little different? There's a little more stretch too. All right, and come out, walk towards your chair. Okay, is that a good one? Yeah, that's a good one. Okay, so I'd like to do a triangle before we move on. And I know a lot of us can do lower triangles. I'm going to ask us to do triangle with the chair. There are certain benefits that you get with it. So I'll show this to you. I'm going to do my tighter side first. Okay, so I'm turning the foot that's closer to the chair out 90 degrees. And I'm really using the whole of my foot, just like when we were lifting up. You want the whole perimeter of your foot active. And that is going to keep this knee from locking. As Mike reminded us, locking doesn't serve us. You actually want to use these quadriceps and activate the stabilization of the knee versus this would be locking. You see how I fell into the back side of the joint here? I want to instead push through the feet, use these muscles. And now this is firm and stable, but it's resilient versus a locked one. And then I'll take that hip crease back, and I'll reach to the chair, and I can reach to the back of the chair or the seat of the chair. I could push it away. Oh, these are harder to push because they're so heavy if I like to get lower. But I'm really more interested in the activation and then the twisting open and staying in a straight line than I am how deeply you can get into this. Okay, so when you're ready, we'll take the feet apart wide. It's okay if you've already gone there, just stay there, that's fine. Feet apart wide. We'll turn the thigh 90 degrees to face the chair. And now check in that your bandhas are in place, these bottom two bandhas, because we need them to keep this stable for us. You can bend your knee just to find the hip crease, and then push through the foot. And as you straighten the leg, engage these quadriceps and tilt, keeping the spine equally long on both sides of the waist, equally long. And then we'll turn away from the chair and either let your hand rest on your hip or over the shoulder. Here's your Trikonasana, triangle pose. That looks good. How's that feel? And this is work, right? Yeah. Good. And where's your head? Can it come back in line? Good, Karen. So I know you want to look to the sky, so you're leaning with your chin. Rotate this, and then turn on the axis. Remember how that's different on your neck? You can do that one. Okay, and then push through the foot and come up. Okay, this bears saying for everybody, so I'm going to show it to you. I'll get my hair out of the way. Okay, when I am here in my triangle, and I want to go up to the sky, do you see how I'm leading with my chin? Okay, so if I instead get straight and then turn, it's a lot less stress on the neck, and a lot of us are doing it. All right, so let's try the other side. You can just flip your chair the other direction. Come into wide leg stance. And then we'll turn the leg towards the chair. Use your bandhas. So I want you, this is the focus. Foundation. And then length through the spine, because this is part of the foundation. It would be like if you had a Jenga tower where the bottom 4 layers were great, but then the top layers were all doing this. It wouldn't be as stable up here. So keep the whole thing stable and let it just tilt over as far as it's going to, and then reach to the chair, and then turn the navel away from the floor. And you could bring your hand to the back of your neck and make sure that it's a straight line. And then if you want to, turn on the axis of that straight line. Does that make sense? Good, Mike. There we go. Yes. These are beautiful. Oh. I feel like they're reaching that. I think we're talking a little bit. Yeah, can you come up a little? And then we'll just come back towards there. You have more in one straight line. Yes, yes. And when you're ready, come up and out. Ooh. No, that's a big one, isn't it? Okay, who needs a forward fold? Yeah. Okay. So you can do a child's pose, but we are eventually going to get in the chair. So let me show you another one. You could just sit in your chair and rest your forearms on your thighs and then deepen the navel back, back, back. Oh, this feels fabulous. And then we're going to take one arm forward and reach it across the body. And it's going to give you a pretty good QL stretch. And that's a hard place to isolate. Okay. So first we're just all sitting here. Happy to be seated. Hi, everyone. And then we'll fold forward at the hip crease, and maybe your hands come to your thighs. Maybe your forearms come to the thighs. Some of us could go down lower, but it's not necessary. And now relax the shoulders. And let's look down to the floor so that the back of the neck is long to start. And now really deepen the belly back, 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 back. And now your head will come forward a little bit, right? Do you feel that? And let's just breathe here. So this is a little bit like our child's pose. What it doesn't have is the folding up of the knees, which is better for some people. And now let's extend one arm up, forward. It doesn't matter which one. And then reach it across the body. And now breathe into that place in your low back that's feeling a little bit of a stretch. Do you feel that? Breathing into it. And then bring your forearm or your hand back to the thigh. Rest here for a moment. And then deepen the navel back again. Extend the opposite arm forward and across the body. And release. All right, let's bring our hands to the thighs, draw the belly in, extend the head so the spine is long, and then push through the hands and come up in one piece. Ah, good. Okay, while we're seated, I'm going to take advantage of that, and we're going to do figure 4. So if you want to turn towards me, you're welcome to, if that's easier. Okay, so figure 4 is a variation of Raja Kapotasana, the pigeon pose. And so what I do is I'm going to take one ankle and cross it over the opposite thigh. And you'll notice that this foot stays at 90 degrees versus, do you see how I'm sickling my foot? And this would be bearing weight on the top of the foot instead of the side of the foot. So that's important because it puts strain on the ligaments here of the ankle if you don't. Now, I gotta say, not everybody's foot comes up to the thigh. Some of us might have a stack of blocks that we're putting the foot on, okay? And here's one way to get out of it. Do you see how my foot has crossed the line, center line of my body? Do that once, walk your foot inward. Oh, that takes a lot of the strain out of it, doesn't it? So now walk that foot back in line with your hip point. This is another way to keep yourself honest. So some knees are way up here, and some people it's laying there on the floor. This used to be like one of my favorite things. I was really, really open. It's not as comfy now. Okay, so if you're here and you're pretty much level, and you need to intensify this a little bit, you could think of bandhas, and then lift up and take a little bow. And see how I'm bowing, leading with my chin? Lead with the forehead, which is a part of the whole neck and head, which is straight. You feel a nice stretch now in your hip? Oh, yes. So go to a place where you can still breathe. Don't go so far that you can't breathe evenly. So yes, you kind of overcome it. Yeah, a little pressure on the eyes, right? Okay. Mike, may I retract your hip back?
Good luck.
Okay. Yeah. I would try to keep a level pace.
Yes.
All right. When you're ready, if you're folded forward, let's come out of the forward fold. So here again, if you're working, if you've been riding in a car, if you're traveling and you've been sitting a long time, you can do this, break it up a little, right? You could do this and open up the chest, and then do this and open up the hips, right? These are things that are within reach. You don't have to do an hour of yoga. You can take little pieces, little bites. Okay, so let's do the other side. The other side's my tighter side. Boy, it's amazing how your body always chooses the easier side first. Hoping you'll forget there's another side. All right. Okay, that's a great question. Jean asked, are we pushing down on this leg? We're not pushing anything ever. Okay. We are letting gravity take the leg down. If you wanted to gently rest your hand on this, just a little additional, sometimes at the hip crease, I might turn the thigh out a little more. And that took my leg down a little more too, but gentle is the key word. Yeah, just because I know I've said this before, but my favorite image of this is if you had a bud, a rose bud, and you tried to get it open, you just tear the petals off, right? We don't want to be tearing the petals off here. We want to just let it unfold. All right. I don't particularly need to fold forward on this side, so I'm not going to, but you could if you need a little more. And if I do, I'll tell you what I feel. I feel a little pressure on my knee.
Hmm.
Yeah, so I'm staying right here. You go to your edge. In the back there, yeah, that's, so I would, instead of falling forward right now, I would just keep going up, up, up. And then just bring your chest forward, that's it. Do you still feel it in that low back spot? Okay, then come back up. Are you still feeling stretch in the hip? No? Okay, so now let's gently turn this thigh bone out a little. Do you feel it in the hip? There you go. That's another way. Without, so if something causes distress in another part of your body, it's not worth it. It's a trade-off. We can almost always deepen something in another way. And that's learning, that is the hard thing. That's the inquiry that we do on the mat. And it'll be different from day to day. But maybe you're a little tight in your glutes today. So. All right. Okay, and out you come. Ooh, good. Okay, so I want to do one more active pose before a little bit longer Shavasana. This is a stretch that I'm going to do next to a wall. And we all have room to do that. So I've got my wall here. I'm going to turn away from my chair and bring one leg up on it. And so if you would watch me first. Here, because of the tight hip flexors, do you see how my pelvis wants to tilt forward? So for some of us, this is all of the work, is just lifting up the hip points so that they're facing straight ahead. Okay. Now, if that's comfortable for me, I might come a little further away from the chair. And then again, see if I can, because that's way more stretch now on this back leg. Then, if this is appropriate, you could bend the supporting leg. And if you do that, I promise you're going to feel a lot of stretch here. If you're doing that, I'm going to ask you to slightly internally rotate this side one. So let me do the outside one so you can see it more easily. Okay, so I'm evening out. I'm slightly internally rotating and then coming in, and that helps get some additional stretch here. Okay, so we're all going to just explore first. Don't assume you know what's, so I'm turn away from your chair, Marcia. Yeah, no, chair's there, body is facing the other way. Go 180 degrees. There you go. Okay. Yeah, I know, too much. Okay, so we're just exploring, first of all, nice and close to the chair. When you even out your pelvis, do you already start to feel a stretch here? Yes, pretty intense, right? So for a lot of us, this is the place. This is where we're working today. If that was pretty comfortable, you could rest your shin there and walk your foot out a little, and that will deepen the stretch a little. So listen to the front of your knee. If it's pulling too much on the front of the knee, we need to listen to that, right? Get closer to the chair. Yes. Yeah. How's that feel now? Is that okay, Sally?
I just feel
Okay, good.
Yeah.
All right. Just don't let there be an over pulling on the muscles that wrap around the front of the knee. Okay, so listen to your body. And if your body wants to go a little deeper, then you could bend the supporting the leg, rolling the thigh in, maintaining those bandhas, those lower two bandhas. And let's just hold whatever variation you've chosen for another 5 breaths. And let's just walk around a little bit, bend and straighten that leg. Ooh. So I don't know about you, but I feel a lot more open on the side that we just did here in the hip flexor and the quads. Okay, so let's see what happens on the other side.
So don't assume you can go to the exact same place, because we know we have a lot of asymmetry in our bodies, right? So just start nice and close to your chair and just place the shin on the chair and work on evening out the pelvis and finding your bandhas. Your Tadasana, you just happen to be taking the lower leg out of one side of your Tadasana. Sorry. Getting to know each other over there? Yes. Good. If it feels appropriate, you could walk your foot a little further away from the chair. And again, even out pelvis. Maybe this is the exact right place to work. Maybe your body wants a little bend in the knee of the supporting leg. And in that case, roll the thigh of the bent knee in. Maintaining those bandhas and your breath. Okay, by the way, did anybody notice that if you bent your leg, you wanted to have a little more weight on your heel, that bent leg? And did you notice that other hip having to stabilize? Okay, so lots of really good things were happening there. Okay, so I promised you a nice long Shavasana. We've got these chairs, and one of the nicest ways to ease your back is to just rest with your legs on this chair and your knees at 90 degrees. For those of you who are a little more short, it might be nice, because these are really tall chairs with all this padding, to just put your hips up on the blanket. But look at this, I've got my knees at 90 degrees. Oh, this is so restful to the back. So that's what we want to find. Now, if you happen to love another Shavasana, legs up the wall or something else, feel free to do that. Feel free to do that. I didn't bring my strap, but if I had, I would have put a strap around my lower thighs so that they don't go anywhere. Okay. Show you some of the- slowly begin to feel that connection with our physical body again. And as we begin to stretch and wiggle, just considering the reminder that we don't want to stay focused continually our whole experience on the dark, on the hard things, living out of fear, living in judgment, living in sorrow. But so that means we need to sometimes consciously look up and take in the rest of our experience. But if we learn how to experience the whole, we get all of its gifts. And so now, as you begin to stretch and wiggle more, you might take one leg up to the sky, maybe the other. Maybe stretch the arms up overhead. Now these chairs are really heavy and hard to get away from. So let's all roll to the right so that we don't whack into one another. And take a moment there. And then at your own pace, come on up to seated. The other right.
Good design.
Okay. Coming back to your center, tuning in one more time. Is there any place that your body needs you to just consciously let go? It's taking a moment for the gratitude of sharing our experience together with compassion and humor. Need a lot of humor. And being there for ourselves with that same compassion and humor, wisdom and discernment. The gift of perception. And when you're ready, we'll draw our hands somewhere to the front body, honoring ourselves and one another. Namaste. Namaste. Thanks, everybody. Good job. Was that a hard class?